and for being here promptly on time. It's really incredible that we've had this kind of turnout for this first info session. The program is going to be running a bit later in the year, so knowing that there's already 100 folks that are signed up to hear more about the program is just absolutely thrilling. And I thank each and every one of you for sharing some of your time with us so we can tell you about the program and see if this is a fit. So my name's Philip Smith. I'm joined here today with my colleague from Google News Initiative, Robbie Brown. I'll just let Robbie introduce himself quickly and talk about the work that he does. Let me just
I'll keep it brief. I'm Robbie. If I haven't met you, I'm a former journalist. I work on news programs at Google, which means I get the opportunity to work with Philip and other on the trainings that we do around the world, or application-based programs like this one for people who work at news organizations or want to. I will say this is one of, if not my favorite program, because we bring new people into the world of journalism, or we bring new organizations onto the internet, and it's an incredibly exciting thing to have 50 plus of you want to take part in that. So I'm going to drop my email in here. If you have any questions about, I guess, Google's role in this program, other things we're doing in news, just always feel free to email me. If you have questions about how to apply or what we're looking for, Philip may be your best point of contact for this particular program. But anyway, happy to answer any questions or pass them along to other folks within Google.
Awesome. Thanks, Robbie. And I'll keep my intro short because it's here on the screen, but just, key probably salient parts are that I am a former newsroom kind of staffer myself. I worked at a newsroom in Vancouver, Canada for more than 10 years. It was a startup newsroom, and I left that newsroom to try and answer the question, how can I support other journalist entrepreneurs be successful? I spent a year at Stanford kind of thinking about that question, and the ultimate result was this program that we've run now 5 times for more than 100 folks in the US and Canada, and hundreds more around the world. And I'm excited that we're going to be running it again this year, and let me tell you a bit about it. And we'll get back to our coaches in a second, but first I'm just going to tell you about the actual folks that have taken the program before. So as mentioned, we've run this program roughly 5 times. And the first one was kind of a pilot version of the program that happened back in 2019 with just 5 people. And then with the help of Google News Initiative, we were able to scale up the program to 24 participants in 2020. So that very first cohort was a combined US and Canada cohort, as it will be this year. And I'll share links with you to kind of write-ups of every cohort, so you can go in and dig into the efforts that they worked on, figure out where they are today. And we'll talk a little bit about where they are today, so you can get a sense of, with 2 or 3 years of effort, or 2 or 3 years of work on your effort, where you might, reasonably expect to be. In terms of the next cohort in 2021, we actually split the program into a US cohort and a Canadian cohort. So we had 24 participants in the United States in 2021, and then we had 12 Canadian participants in 2022. And what that gave us the opportunity to do is to actually kind of refine the curriculum for the Canadian participants. I am Canadian, but I've been living in the US now for 6 or 7 years, and I've been working with US publishers for decades. However, my roots run deep in Canada, and I'm excited always to support Canadians in the program. And so we have really updated the curriculum, so it's kind of equally supportive for folks that are working in the very unique realities of Canada, but also obviously it's based in the US, so we have all of the US bases covered as well. And then in 2023, we went back to a combined cohort, so US and Canadians. We had 25 participants. And since then, we've also run this program in Australia, New Zealand, in South America, in Kenya, which is running currently, and Argentina will be starting later this year. So a big question you might be asking is, why did all these people invest several weeks of their lives into a program like this? And what sets this program apart from other programs that are out there? And they all have their advantages. So it's not kind of a picking on other programs. It's just trying to say, like, this is where we think our sweet spot is compared to some of the other programs that exist. Number one, we believe that there's really no magic dust or special sauce involved here. The success of this program, why it works comes down to just really 3 simple things. One is the people that you undertake the program with, so the cohort. We very much spend time helping the cohort kind of create a cohesive relationship, to build trust among each other, and to go on and support each other after the program, which we've seen time and time again. So, for example, the very first cohort in 2020, many of them still meet and help each other and support each other even to this day, so 3-4 years later. Number two component is the coaching that you receive. Unlike most other programs, you are able to access a team of coaches every single week, and we encourage you to do that. That's kind of like a bit of the special sauce, if there is any, is that you get one-on-one time with a coach that is a professional business, journalism, kind of entrepreneurial expert, and they work with you to try and solve any of the questions or challenges that you're having in that week. And we look at you as a group of coaches. We look at every participant and every project, and we try and figure out, okay, from point A to when the program ends, where should that person expect to be? And we work together to try and get you there. So it's a very concerted effort to focus individually on everybody in the program, give them a lot of attention, and get them moving faster, depending on where they are. And number three, the program is really minimalist by design. So the curriculum is just focused on one thing, and that's trying to get you launched by the end of the program if you're not launched, or if you are launched, helping you accelerate very quickly towards financial sustainability. That's kind of an underlying kind of component of this program. We believe that these efforts need to be financially viable for you to continue to work on them. So I'll just return to our coaches for 1 second. So in terms of the makeup of the team, this is the team that we had last year, including myself. So we had Graham Watson-Ringo, Hannah Sung, Natasha Krasinchik, Bert Herman, and Ayinde Alakoye. It's likely that the coaching team will look similar this year. We'll be confirming that in March, but we have confirmed that Graham Watson-Ringo will come back as our lead coach this year. And Graham, if you're not familiar with Graham's work, Graham is a senior director with the News Revenue Hub, where she helps dozens and dozens of local news outlets across the country create strategies to become profitable and sustainable. She's coached 2 of these labs in the past and will continue on, as I mentioned, in her role of lead coach this year. So just very quickly, I'm going to dive into the curriculum, and then we're just going to get right into your questions. So here is roughly what the curriculum looks like week by week. In a nutshell, this is how we sequence it. We start with ensuring that you've got a clear definition of success, financial success, operational success, and impact success after 1 or 2 years after the program. So we want to make sure that when you enter the program in the first week, we have a picture of where you expect to be within 2 years of graduation. We'll then try and guide you through what we believe are the most important skills for news entrepreneurs or new entrepreneurs to have, which is interviewing potential customers. And it's kind of an interesting pattern that we come across, that journalists kind of tend to push away from this idea of interviewing potential customers, and we'll probably try and, maybe we'll talk about that in the Q&A. We work with you to determine how you might earn revenue from your effort, whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit or some other model. We've got to figure out, what is the opportunity for you to make this financially viable? And so we'll work with you in a lot of detail around that. And we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how to decide between being a nonprofit or a for-profit or any other tax structure. And we'll encourage you to get registered during the program. We actually have a break week, and the homework during the break week is typically do the effort to get registered, either as a LLC or a corporation, or if you're going to go the nonprofit route, to understand what's involved there in the timeline. From there, I'll be honest with you, it's a bit of a sprint to the finish line. So there's kind of 3 weeks after the break week, and we're going to show you how to reduce risk by experimenting. We'll talk you through the kind of often awkward topic of sales, so how to do sales, what that's all about, how you can be successful at selling your own product. And then it's time to focus on getting your effort launched. And we encourage you to make something that's publicly visible if you're not already public. So that could be a website or a new YouTube channel or a new social channel. And we'll work with you to refine your quote unquote elevator pitch, which is just your ability to convey the story of your effort concisely in under 2 or 3 minutes. And we found that to be kind of a really powerful forcing function, just to help people get clear in their minds about what it is that is unique about what they're doing. So I'll just sum it up. Here's who we believe that this program can really help. We believe it can help people that are first-time or early-stage entrepreneurs. So if you've been in the journalism world for a long time and haven't really dabbled in entrepreneurship or explored doing your own thing before, it could be excellent for you. We believe that we can support efforts that are either pre-launch or in very early stages of being launched. What we've often found is that projects that are a little older than a year tend to get fairly locked into what they believe is the right path forward and just become slightly less coachable. And this program is really about coaching you to have the most defensible business model possible. And so we want to make sure that people are open to that. And often after 1 year or more, people get a bit locked into what they believe is going to work. And last but not least, it's really, for better or for worse, not a program for folks that are thinking about building a side hustle. We really want people to be thinking about building their main hustle. So maybe the effort that you're working on now is already a side hustle and you've started a little bit. And the question is, how does it become your full career? How do you grow it so you can have a team and staff? That's what we're just well positioned to support. The folks just on the flip side that we're less positioned to support are kind of veterans, people that are looking for huge venture investment funding, folks that are just not really open to being coached or input on the idea. So yeah, that's I think one lens to look at whether this program is a fit or not. And in terms of the kinds of startups that we're hoping to support, it's really, and we're going to kind of double down on this year and get a bit more focused. We really want to focus on people that are thinking about civic news and information. So it could be local news. So do you want to do something about your neighborhood or your town or your city, coverage at a state or provincial level of whatever issues, whether it be just the general kind of politics or stuff like that. Regional news. So if there's an area that is defined as a region, Pacific Northwest, Pacific Northeast, that you feel that there's news or information missing from, that could be a fit. And then thematic or single subject news. And that's where it could be kind of a narrow slice. It could be a national effort, but a narrow slice. You're just covering healthcare or cannabis or criminal justice or the environment and so on. And kind of many of the mediums that you've talked about we feel that we've got strengths and an ability to support. So news websites, newsletters, podcasts, social platforms, things that we might not be able to support as well would be like television efforts or traditional terrestrial radio efforts. We have a little less experience there, although one person on our team does have a lot of experience. Streaming services or emerging platforms that we haven't really, that haven't been discovered yet. And ideas that kind of fall slightly out of what we understand to be news with a civic importance. Those are, we've had efforts like that in the program in the past, and it feels like it's harder for us to give as much support as we'd like to those efforts. So we're going to try and focus in this year and be a little more specific around civic news and information. Okay, last but not least, before we get to the Q&A here, the timeline, it's actually fairly locked in at this point. Applications are going to open in the next week or so, and if you're on this list, if you've RSVP'd for the call, you will get a link to submit an application as soon as that goes live, and the application window will be open until the end of May. And at that point, we'll take a couple of weeks to review the applications and actually do interviews. So for those folks that are, feel like they're in the short list, we'll reach out and try and book an interview for 10 minutes just to get a sense of who you are as an individual and to make sure that we understand the idea. At the end of June, we'll send out invitations to participate, and we'll give you a couple weeks we'll give you a few days to accept, but we'll give you a couple of weeks before the program starts. And then we're aiming to start the lab on July 8th. So after the typical long weekend, whether it be July 1st in Canada or July 4th in the US. As mentioned, we'll have a break week at the end of July, and then we'll run to roughly the third week in August. It might actually run 1 week longer to the end of August. But this is the estimated timeline for the lab as it stands today. And one thing that I'm going to do a little bit differently this year, and I'll just say it now and we'll say it again in the Q&A, is if you're in doubt, just apply.